nation. Madam Acting Deputy President, I now wish to use the remainder of my time to highlight the community concerns about the arts funding in Australia, and particularly in my home state in Tasmania. I expected the recent arts inquiry hearing in Hobart to be compelling, but I didn't expect it to become quite as emotional and poignant as it did. All day long, passionate and hard-working artists and administrators expressed their heartfelt fear, anger, despair and uncertainty about their industry's future. 25 witnesses appeared at the Hobart hearing. Their skills and stories were immensely varied, but their message to Arts Minister Senator George Brandis was completely united. Immediately restore the $105 million you've ripped from the Australia Council to set up your own personal arts slush fund. For almost 50 years, the Australia Council for the Arts has independently assessed projects and allocated federal arts funding. And those decisions are made by artistic experts at arm's length from government. And while its limited budget has left many projects unfunded and some artists disappointed, the Australia Council is almost universally respected as an independent umpire of competence and integrity. None of that seemed to matter to the Liberal Arts Minister, Senator George Brandis. Senator Brandis used this year's federal budget to rip $105 million from the Australia Council, and that's 13% of the Council's annual budget. $28 million was already cut the year before, putting the industry under immense pressure. Senator Brandis has then diverted that funding to set up his own separate funding body, the National Program for Excellence in the Arts, in which funding decisions will be made by the Arts Ministry and ultimately approved by him. That leaves far less Australia Council funding to be shared amongst groups and artists that they rely on, creating massive uncertainty. It's bad enough that Senator Brandis is cutting the independent funding body to establish his own slush fund and handpick his own favourites. It's Liberal culture wars in the extreme. But there's a catch that makes Senator Brandis' vandalism of the system even worse. In fact, there are several nasty catches. Firstly, small to medium arts operators appear to be excluded from applying for under Senator Brandis' NPEA program, along with individual artists. Secondly, virtually every Tasmanian arts organisation is a small or medium operator, meaning the impact on our dynamic but financially fragile arts sector will be particularly destructive and felt the most. And thirdly, the NPEA's guidelines indicate that, unlike the Australia Council, some successful funding applicants, chosen by the minister, will not be publicly announced. At worst, that opens the door for politically motivated funding decisions to slip through with little or no public scrutiny or accountability. At best, it creates a perception that issue for Minister Brandis and larger groups he chooses to fund. Where is the transparency and the accountability in using taxpayers' money and then not even publicly announcing where you are funding those projects? There are 148 small to medium Australian arts companies and 28 major organisations currently funded by the Australia Council. Between 2010 and 2012, those small to medium companies produced 2,897 new Australian works, or 88% of the body of work, while the majors produced 299 new works, which is 12% of the overall body. Therefore, any attack on the viability of the small to medium sector is a fundamental attack on the engine room of Australian culture, creativity and innovation. An example is Kickstart Arts in my home state, which has touched the lives of tens of thousands of Tasmanians recent years. At the Hobart inquiry, Jamie Bladel spoke passionately about how its new mentoring program for 20 young artists, as well as its Teaching Artists in Residence program, engages more than 1,000 young people each year. These career pathways and social benefits now hang in the balance. And above all, the inquiry has shown this isn't just about artistic production and appreciation. Crushing small to medium arts groups means crushing Tasmanian jobs. It means crushing the community programs that help educate and inspire our kids, and crushing effective grassroots efforts to improve mental health, boost confidence, improve literacy and social skills, and of course divert young people away from drug abuse and crime. However, Minister Brandis also has a rare opportunity here. He has a rare chance to actually reverse a policy mistake while having little impact on the overall federal budget, bottom line, given the fact that he has diverted Australia Council funding out and into his own slush fund. He has the chance to show tens of thousands of artists, aspiring artists, arts workers and arts lovers that he generally understands and appreciates their unique contribution to our national life. This is about us as a nation, our national identity. It's about jobs, it's about well-being. It's about a lot more than one minister creating a slush fund to pick his favourites. This is about continuing to ensure we have an arts sector in this country, a creative industry in this country, and that can only happen if we have a well-funded Australia Council for the Arts, not one that has $105 million ripped out of it so that a minister of the day for the arts can set up his own slush fund. Minister Brandis should listen, learn and change his mind and restore Australia Council funding for the arts.